Hello, welcome to Young Martin's Reels, and I'm Rick Stivers. Today, we are going to be working on this Shakespeare spincast reel, and it is a model MANTISSC10. And the reel almost works, but it don't. And then I know you guys have gotten, a lot of you guys anyway, have gotten used to seeing me fix things, but today we're going to be looking at one that I'm not going to be able to fix. I can do a temp fix on it, but it's not something that's going to hold up. And this reel is going to really need this back button assembly, and I don't have one, and there's not any available. So I'm not going to be able to do anything about that. However, for those of you who are subscribers and watch what I usually do, this reel that I did yesterday, the Damn Quick 101, just to let you know, I did find a spool for it at mikesreelrepair.com, and I bought it last night and it's on its way. So as soon as I have that on, I'll put it back in to show you guys that reel completed, and at least I'll have a victory there. This one I'm not going to be able to have a victory for because it's not fixable. I can't fix this. What I did do is make a temporary button to stick back here in the back, just to show you that the reel would operate if it had a good button. But I'm not about to turn this thing out in the field with this button looking like this. We're going to be retiring this reel, but I want to show any of you out there that have this reel that don't have a broke button how to service it. So we're going to go through it. We're going to start off by taking off the handle. Now, I was really surprised at how heavy this handle is. This is a really heavy steel handle, chrome plated, nice handle. The reel itself is not a bad reel at all. It just, I can't get parts for it. And the cheap plastic piece that they put on the back of it is what broke. Let's go ahead and take the cover off. And, well, that was a little bit of a mistake. Let's put that handle temporary there so I can unscrew the rotor. There we go. Now we take the handle off. All right, at this point, we can take off this E-clip right here. Be careful, it's a spring, it can fly. All right, when we take this off, you're gonna find this is a metal drag washer on top, followed up by a Teflon drag washer. Take the spool off, and underneath you'll find the clicking portion here. That's going to go on the bottom. That's going to be on here, and that makes this sound when the drag is activated. Now we've got a Teflon washer and a metal washer on the bottom. Now this metal washer is keyed just like the one on the top, and the Teflon is not, like so. All right, and under it is a non-keyed metal washer. This one just sits on the bottom, and it allows everything to spin against it. It is spring, it's a waffle one. It squeezes down, holds tension. It's a spring. And then we've got the drag gear right here. Let's loosen the drag a little bit. There we go. That should pop right off. There we go. Okay, it's got that off. This collar also came off right here. And we're now going to take out this screw. And that's not going to want to turn because the handle. I'm starting to rethink the idea of taking this handle off at this point. I think maybe we should have left it on until we got this screw out and moved on from there. Okay, with this long screw out, set it to the side, take the handle back off. You've got a sleeve on this side that's keyed like that, like so, to fit on the shaft. When that is done, you can now lift the internals out. With that out, I can now show you what's broken. All right, this button right here had 2 tabs that went into these 2 slots right here. And those tabs are broken away. Without them there, when you push the button, it just falls forward, falls in, and jams everything up. Now what I did do is cut this button and make it to fit. I don't know what it's off of. It's just one that was in a pile. And it does fit. It does function. It's not attractive by any means, especially if you turn it around and look at it this way. Okay, so I did make that. We're going to use that just to show you that the reel functions at the end. But yeah, this reel is getting retired. All right, I haven't had this part apart before, so let's take a look at what it's going to take. It appears that we're going to need to take out these 4 screws. And I'm going to assume that they are all identical. I'm going to break them all free, and then I'm going to change over to a Phillips. Yes, all 4 of those screws are identical. So we're going to set them over to the side. Now we should have bearing caps here, or bushing caps, one or the other. We're going to put the one for the right side over on the right side, and we're going to put the one for the left side over on the left side. And then we should be able to lift the crankshaft out, like so. All right. There you go, and it's got grass and stuff trapped down inside it. All right, now, if you look right here, when we took this out, the anti-reverse fell out. All right, now we're going to put that back in when we go to put it back. I believe it goes with the high side back here, but I'll check the video. That's why it's important, if you're taking a reel apart for the first time that you've never done before, to video or film it so that you can come back and look at it and see how it went. It doesn't look like it wants to play in there. All right. But that's where it goes. All right. Then we've got this axle shaft out. Take a look at it. This axle shaft is the only thing in the entire reel that is showing any trace of grease at all. And that's right here on the pinion gear. The rest of this is dry as a bone everywhere, which would explain why it was very stiff to operate. So I'm going to scrub all these parts up. We're going to take a look at your anti-reverse here and see how all this goes back together. And come back, put it back together. And it will be a functional reel, but it's not going to be one that we're going to use. All right. Okay, all of the parts are clean, and we're going to start putting it back together. So what we're going to start off with is our axle shaft. And we're going to take and put some grease on the axle shaft where the spring is. And we're going to put oil in this roller bearing. And now we're going to exercise this a little bit, pushing this up and down a little bit, just to get that grease up underneath that bushing. And because this is a roller assembly, or sliding assembly, we're going to put oil on the shaft and slide that in, and it gives us a nice smooth ride there. But now that's probably not going to stay down in there very well until we get everything else back in. All right, now if you look at this part, this is your gear assembly. Let's going to zoom in on this a little bit, and hopefully I'll remember to zoom back out. All right, this is the setup for your anti-reverse. Okay, you've got this plate on right here, and then you've got this spring. See how the spring loads into the end right here, and then it comes down, wraps around, and locks into place here. Okay, we're going to grease that. That's your anti-reverse. Don't put a lot of grease right in that area. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't put a lot of grease right in that area right there, because that's where this has got to have tension on it. So go ahead and leave that part ungreased, and then go ahead and grease the teeth on your main gear. Doesn't need too much grease, just enough to coat the teeth. All right, we're going to come back now and grease. Zoom back out now. And grease the teeth on this pinion gear inside. Now there's probably enough grease on the teeth of the main gear that we just greased, but I like to make sure that I have all the teeth properly greased. All right, time to reinsert this anti-reverse gear, and I went back and checked the footage to make sure that I was putting it in correctly, and it goes in like this. We're going to put a little bit of grease on it to help hold it in place. It sits right in there. There's a little square notch down the bottom that it sits into. If you want, you can hold it in place and make sure that it actually got into that. Mine doesn't look like it's in there. Okay, should sit just about like that. Let's take our bushings now. And grease each side. By the way, I noticed when I was cleaning, there's a little bitty shim washer right here. Don't lose that. Okay, make sure it goes back in. Put this bushing on, rotate it a few times, make sure the grease is properly on there. Do the same thing on the other side. Now we're ready to set it back in, but see this tooth right here, this little piece of metal right here sticking down, that has to go into that blank spot on that anti-reverse gear. Okay, so now we got to slide all this back in here and get that piece to go in there. All right, that's where I checked the video, but I swear I believe that this thing goes the other way. Maybe I just couldn't see it properly in the video, but let's try it the way I think it ought to go. Like so. Okay, I did get it in there right. That was not a fun anti-reverse to get back in. The longer portion does go to the bottom or outside edge, and that little notch does go in it. So It's just you have to get it aligned properly going in. I think I would hate working in the factory, having to assemble that. I guess if you did it often, I guess it would go together pretty easy for you. All right, put that together. There it goes. It now rotates just fine. Anti-reverse works, does what it's supposed to do. All right. We have our semblance of a button in the back. We're going to put this part back in, and notice that it's trying to push out. It's still just a little bit too long to fit in there properly, but it does work. So get that part installed in there, and let's go ahead now and put in our drive shaft and put our screw back in, and that should hold all of this part into the case properly. Okay, this should operate, and it does. Okay, now we're going to come back and we're going to reset our anti-reverse, and we're going to look at how it goes in, like so. And if you notice how it works, as it rotates, it screws in and out. And it gets all the way over there, it's all the way down. Okay? Like so. Now, with that installed, we can install our flex washer. And its purpose is just to hold tension. We'll install our keyed washer and our Teflon washer. Now, the keyed washer is stainless steel. However, it's going to be the Teflon washer is going to be riding up against the spool here. So what we're going to do, we're going to take ever so slightly, a small amount of grease, and put it on the spool, and then we're going to turn right around and wipe it off. But don't completely wipe it off. You just want to leave a very, very thin film. And the reason you want to do that is to help keep this from corroding. When I took this apart, there was a lot of corrosion on the top and on the bottom, and that grease will help keep it from corroding there. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the top. Just a small amount. Rub it in, and then rub it back off. That'll just help keep the corrosion from reoccurring. Okay, we're going to put on the Teflon washer. See, the Teflon washers don't need any grease, so we're not going to grease those. All right, we got that one in place, the keyed washer, and now we're going to slide on the E-clip. Remember, keep a thumb on the E-clip. I have shot more E-clips across the room, and you guys who watch my videos know, because I leave that in there when I do that. There we go. E-clip is installed. Let's go ahead and put the handle back on. Got this little grommet here. It's just a decorative ring that goes on there. If you don't have it and want to leave it off, that's fine. It's not really going to hurt. It just makes it a little more decorative there. Helps keep dirt and dust out. With that done, let's go ahead and put this nut back on. Tighten it down. Now, you want to make sure when you tighten it down that this cap's going to line up, but we're going to come back and work on that later. Right now, we just want to get the rotor installed. Okay, here's our rotor. It looks good. We're going to put a little oil under it. We're going to operate it a few times, like so. Make sure it moves freely. And we're going to put just a dab of grease right here on top of this. And what this is the little cam that rotor rides on that pops it back down when you crank the handle. Okay, so crank it up. All right, now here comes the test. Did our button work? There it goes. The button held. It did its job. This rotor is a little crusty. I didn't clean it. And the reason being because I know this thing's not going anywhere. But I guess that's not a very good excuse, is it? Let's spray it with a little WD-40 and wipe it off. There, that looks better. Okay, push the button, and it rotates, and the pin comes out. Now this has a pinhole on the other side, but I didn't see a okay, this rotor is missing a part. There should be another one of these on this other side. All right, so that's 2 parts in this reel that are bad. It's still functional, it still works, but it doesn't work as well as it would if it had them both. The only difference is now, instead of the line catching on whichever one of these 2 it comes to first, it's going to catch on this one and only this one. Push our homemade button, rotate it, pin comes out, working as advertised. Okay, so if you have one of these and would like to service it, well, that's how you service it. It all comes apart nicely. It is a bit of a pain to take that anti-reverse apart. What I would recommend you do, if that's yours and you're working on it and aren't real good at putting things back together, and that's your anti-reverse, you might want to leave it in place. Just spray some WD-40 in it, brush a brush down in there to clean it out, spray it again, and then apply some grease. But there you have it. We got to find out if the drag works. Let's get some line out of it. Now I know I jumped the gun on this one a little bit, mostly because I knew that I didn't have the parts and stuff for it. I wanted to get it out of my perspective reel bin and get it moved on. Okay, there's not a lot of line on this, so it's not going to function quite like it should, and the line that is on there is very old. All right, wind it in, winds up just fine. Hear the drag's working. Okay, let's add some drag. And it got tighter, and that tightens all the way down. So the drag's working, doing what it's supposed to do. The button works, although let me tell you, that's a very unattractive button, and it won't last long. Eventually, it's going to fall over sideways inside there, and that'll be the end of that. Let's put the cap back on the side. Tighten this down a little bit. Put the cap back on. Went a little bit too far tightening it. Ease it back just a hair. Put the cap on and put our screw in. And if we had a good spinner, well, that spinner head would work. I would actually put that spinner head in the field that way. But the button, no, I won't. So if you've got one of these that's in good shape, it just needs to be serviced. That's how you go about doing it. It's a nice reel. I like it. It's heavy. Seems to be well made, all except for that button. And those 2 ears just broke right off of that button. I don't know if somebody dropped it on it or if it just dry rotted or what happened, but they snapped right off. That's not a very robust design there. Everything else on it's robust, but not that. So this is Rick Stivers with Young Martin's Reels. And if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you dislike it, hey, hit the dislike button. Tell me what you didn't like about it. And if you'd like to subscribe, see more like this, then please do so. I would love to have more subscribers. And in the meantime, I'm signing out.